Hey, yeah, there I go. Hey, y'all, I'm live. Oh my gosh, a little bit earlier this time. One second. Ooh, excuse me. I could probably use a little bit more sleep, and honestly, I am gonna get a little bit. Yeah, okay. Cause I was like, I'm pretty sure I named that video. I did. Liquid Queens and Priestesses Tall. Now these are just some cards that I was shuffling. These flipped over in between these two. And I'm really glad I came live yesterday. For some reason, I don't know, yesterday was such an interesting day. And we're coming up on the end of Virgo season. And I've been feeling Virgo season as the time to like tie up loose ends before everything starts to pop off with Libra season. And I feel like, excuse me, oh my gosh. I feel like I'm excited to get some more sleep. I feel like I've finally been able to sleep. But all I want to do is like sleep and sleep and sleep. The angel is at the bottom of the deck, which is interesting because it was last night or earlier today. I can't remember. I was thinking of how we have the angel in temperance and then we see an angel of strength. It was today. It was this morning. We see an angel in strength and then we see the angel in temperance, but without the lion. And so I guess there is almost this feeling of like the lion is for the big things and temperance is for the things that require a more delicate touch, right? Like if you're balancing the liquid between two cups, you probably don't want the lion in there, like, roaring and doing whatever, like playing around, knocking over the cups that you're trying to fill, right? Doing what cats do. Um, the internal invited to the external, inner secret revealed, cognition illuminated, Jack of Clubs with this Temperance card, which is interesting because Temperance is all about alchemy and balance, right? That could be an internal, external alchemy and balance. But yeah, yesterday was so interesting, and I went to bed last night, and like, especially after I pulled the cards of like, it's just like I can feel whatever, but at the end of the day, it's not my job to do other people's. And I can only do what I can do for me, and I'm not going to slow down what I have going on for pretty much anybody. So, like I said, there was like that sort of Ten of Wands phase, and I feel like in all phases there's learning and understanding. All things teach something, or at least that's the mindset that I approach life with, which is why I'm so deeply metaphorical. And I draw these ties and connections between things. It's how I learn. It's how my brain works and thinks sometimes, especially when I'm encountered with a situation that's new. But I also try to leave enough room for the situation to be what it is. And I don't know, I just wake up like feeling refreshed, feeling rejuvenated, feeling free. I'm going to keep doing me. And for the folks that I don't resonate with, I don't resonate with them. It's not for me to feel bad or to do whatever. If whoever can't handle it, they can't handle it. And that's not my job or responsibility to dim my light or to change myself to suit the miserable masses. It's not me. So, not even sorry. And this is interesting because this is my October card, or one of my October cards. And then the Dark Horse I've seen before, which is all about in times of uncertainty, sticking to your guns. Because when the sun rises, you'll be in a better position. And like when I used to struggle with depression a lot more heavily, like this is the person that I wanted to be. Because it was like I would be like, I know that this depression is not gonna last forever. I wish I could just do what it is that I need to do, because when it's over and when I come back to myself, I want to be in a position that's decent. Like, I want to be in a decent position, and it never happened. It never happened in the past. Because, depression sucks. It sucks the life out of you, sucks the motivation out of you, sucks a lot of stuff. And, one second. Let me blow my nose a little bit. And yeah, I would always think like, I know that this period isn't gonna last forever. I wish that I could put myself in a decent spot so that when I come out of it, I don't feel worse about what I haven't been doing. Let's see. Let's start in the middle. Emperor. Okay, cool. Definitely feeling that. It's time to take charge for sure. And I just woke up and realized. So the new moon was like roughly 3 hours ago, like 2.5 hours ago. Um, right, because it was at like 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern, and it's 10:30, so 3.5 hours ago actually. And I just realized that the new moon was at like 25 degrees Virgo. My moon is like 27 degrees Taurus. I was like, oh, I had a little bit of a moon trine. Maybe that's why I was feeling rough. I hope that I don't switch over to Earth Moon cycles, because whatever was going on yesterday was sucky. I was just feeling like, man, I can't help nobody. Not really. All I can do is talk. I can't do anything to actually help people. But then, you know, go to bed, wake up. It ain't my job to do other people's work. And, it doesn't benefit or serve anybody. It doesn't serve me, and it doesn't serve them, because I don't have any babies. And I can't do things for people that they need to do for themselves. So coming into the Emperor energy, in this deck we see the Ankh gifted by the Empress, Ankh being a symbol of life, right? So it's definitely a partnership. The Emperor can't take that from her. It has to be granted. It has to be gifted. Now coming over to this Dark Horse side is the Knight of Wands, which gives us an 8th wand. Excuse me. And honestly, it's like this is an energy of like if you stick to your guns, it's going to accelerate you in the right direction. Over here, we have the Two of Swords. Paired with the Archangel of Mysteries, it's like if you can trust, even in these periods where you can't see, you'll find the miracle that lies on the other side. It kind of sort of goes back to this energy, to that Dark Horse, honestly. And it's all leading to this Emperor energy with this Temperance at the bottom. It's a journey of healing, alchemy, and one that takes time. I do want to pull one random card. The Ten of Diamonds, a blistering heat and freezing cold that lies at the heart of creation. The truth of the heart made plain in beginnings. Ooh. With this Emperor, I just feel like released, y'all. I just feel released. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I was watching one YouTuber react to mean comments a while ago, and someone said that he does stuff for attention, and he was like, "Well, I'm a YouTuber, so like it's kind of my job to, make videos, especially from my perspective." So, and he was like, "I'm not seeking attention. Like, if I didn't have anybody viewing me and I still made videos, then I'd be seeking attention." I was like, disagree. First of all. Because if no one was watching and you were an attention seeker, you'd stop. And you'd find a medium, a platform, a way to get that attention. Or maybe that's just because I continue to make stuff. Honestly, it helps me process, and it's me putting it out there into the void of collective space. Dayat is just as much a part of the Tree of Life as the others. And maybe that's one thing that we don't fully not understand, but it's like related to the mind almost. In those void spaces, that's where things are born, right? The intentions that you hold, the things that you think, and the feelings that you feel when there's nothing there, it's like those are little portals in this void space for things to come out of. And that's something that, honestly, it's been running in the back of my mind. Like the void and the tree of life, Dayat, and how that's just as important as everything else because it plays a part. And how it's like it's something, but it's nothing. And also, I got a little 3 card reading. Ooh, the Mind Your Business card, the title card. Okay. So we're not going to interpret these too heavily, but I do want to look at them. Justice, Ace of Wands, 4 of Swords. Okay. Do with that what you will. What was I talking about? Yeah, and it came out with something. I remember what I was talking about, but I can't remember what it was. I did the little reading thing, talking about voids. Let me see, because it might still be on here. Maybe. Man, I feel like I've gotten like really, really good at cultivating energy and creating spaces. Um, it's cold in my room, and it's like usually never cold back here. And I was looking for a blanket yesterday, and I'm so excited to be sleeping with blankets because I get to really snuggle up. And my dad was like, "Well, you're looking for a blanket. Usually you're hot back there." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. The energies back here are shifting." And I experienced it at my apartment, and that was weird because usually, like, my room was a mess. Not like extremely messy, but after I started like meditating really heavy and like grounding myself and centering myself, I just noticed like I went home one day and I came back and my room was clean. And that's actually when I noticed it. Cause I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go back to my apartment and my bed's gonna be a mess and I'm gonna have to clean it before I can lay down. But everything was clean. I was like, oh, Virgo, is that you? Are you actually in my chart? And maybe after you, I don't know, astrology. I'm no astrologer. I feel like astrologers follow history and science and stuff like that. They follow things that have already happened, and I prefer to create new things. Um, but maybe it's like after you've done everything else, you sort of get like your Earth sign unlocked, and your Earth sign is opposite your Sun sign, right? Because the Earth is always facing the Sun, and my Earth would be in Virgo. But there was something in here. Let's see. It's in the journal. See if I can find it. Find it. I think it was down here. Maybe. Yes, yes, this is what it was. Um, so I'll read it. I guess I'll read the whole thing. The Osho Bodhidharma, the greatest Zen master. We come from the unknown and we go on moving into the unknown. We will come again. We have been here thousands of times and we will be here thousands of times. Our essential being is immortal, but our body, our embodiment, is mortal. Our frame in which we are, our houses, the body, the mind, they are made of material things. They will get tired, they will get old, they will die. But your consciousness, for which Bodhidharma uses the word no mind, Gautama Buddha also used the word no mind, is something beyond body and mind, something beyond everything, that no mind is eternal. It comes into expression and goes again into the unknown. Now, this is the part that it reminded me of. This movement from the unknown to the known and from the known to the unknown continues for eternity unless somebody becomes enlightened. Then that is his last life. Then this flower will not come back again. This flower that has become aware of itself need not come back to life because life is nothing but a school in which to learn. He has learned the lesson. He is now beyond delusions. He will move from the known for the first time, not into the unknown, but into the unknowable. And that's what Dayat is. It's the unknowable that lies at the heart of everything, right? It's the answer to the question of like, where do we come from? And, blah, blah, blah. Like all of the things that are unknowable, they live there. And it's part of the mystery of life. Oh, and look, and there's the keeper. That's the enlightened fool. Thank you. With the title card still at the bottom. So I'm actually going to be doing the Hermit spread. Ooh, Ten of Pentacles. I like that energy. I don't know. I just feel. Ow! Ooh, okay. Oh, that was like a crick in my back or something. I moved my back the wrong way and it just like caught. I'm like moving a little bit, gyrating. I don't know. I just feel like released. Then I had a dream last night, feeling released. And I don't know. I feel like I can breathe. It's so liberating. And I'm glad that this came before Libra season because I feel like for me, I'm like, I do know that there's a whole bunch of stuff I got to do. So I'm going to pull this up and make sure I get the layout. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be a lot of forward progression and movement. And I'm just going to have to do it. Maybe that's why I've been like actually sleeping the past few days. I've been like really cold though. And I'm like, oh, I should grab a blanket. And I tried to look for one the other night, the night before last. And somebody moved all the blankets. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm freezing. But I got one now. So I'm excited for that. And let's see. Wait, I did do the Chariot spread? Oh, I did do the Chariot spread. The Resolver. I've never used it though. No, wait, no, I have. I did it once. I forgot I made the Chariot spread, so I didn't actually skip. I thought I skipped. Did I finish the Lovers? Yeah, I finished the Lover spread. I did the Chariot and I did the Hermit, and I already have a spread based off of the Wheel of Fortune. No, that's based off of Jupiter. So that's not the Wheel of Fortune. It has the Wheel of Fortune in it though. Okay. So I'm going to give these some shuffles up and then I'm just going to pull off the top. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me reread this so I can get a feeling of what I'm doing. Okay. Well, this probably would have been a little bit better before the new moon, but hey. Time is an illusion. But so is reality. So was that the Five of Wands? I'm glad you flipped back over. Nobody got time for that actually. No. What does this mean? I don't think I'm doing it. What? The title card came out. This will be Space One. And that's actually really interesting for what Space One is. So I guess I'll take jumpers. This will be 2. Okay. Oh, all those measures. I can't remember that commercial, but it just popped into my mind. The one that's like, I'm free to do what I want and do it all the time. Oh, we got two cards for space number 4. That's fine. 5, 6, and then 7. Show me card number 5. They're actually like talking today. I mean, it did start with this, so I mean, it's pretty accurate for the times. Oh no, that's like 5. The Ace of Pentacles I did see. See, this is why I start picking cards. One second. Now, this isn't going to be exactly how the cards are laid out in the spread because I'm working with limited space, but that's fine. Show me 6. Oh, nice. Everything wants to come out in pairs now. And then 7 and 8. Hold up. I skipped strength. Yeah, I skipped strength. I do that all the time. I go like Chariot Hermit. I was like, what about strength, sis? She's in there too, or justice, take your pick. Sometimes it's strength, sometimes it's justice. There we go. Nah. Oh, it was the Emperor. Ooh, could have taken it, but oh well, it'll come out if it's meant to. Oops, okay. Bottom of the deck is the Vagabond. 5 of Orbs. Which is interesting. But excuse me. Not really. So since it's a spread based off of since it's a spread based off of the Hermit, whenever we go into Hermit mode, or whenever we're called into a Hermit space, there's a certain amount of silence we can expect. Because what's important is the thing that we find in the space of that. And I'm actually going to get one of these here, because this is like the star in the lantern. Oh, that's like, oh no, that's 3. That's too many. 2 at the most. Or I can get it later. I'll get it later, actually. Um, understanding the unseen, grasping the subtle, and the sacred vessel is at the bottom of the deck now, which is interesting because we're dealing with Hermit. So whenever you're in Hermit energy, you can expect a fair amount of silence because the Hermit card is a card of a journey, and it's an internal journey. And there are certain things that have to be experienced, certain truths that cannot just be revealed. And so our handle on the situation at hand is the title card. So it makes perfect sense why the Vagabond is right here, because it feels like in the space of this Hermit energy, it's radio silence. And it's not, but it depends on what you ask. And it's just like an exam, an examination or a test, right? If you're taking a test, there are certain questions that you can ask the professor, and there are certain questions that you can't. And if you ask a question that the professor can't answer, what they may do is respond with a question. Now, the question that the professor asks you is probably intended to get you closer to the correct answer, right? It's like they can ask you a series of questions to lead you to the answer, but they can't give you the answer. And so, again, it's this energy of like, you may not know where it is that you ultimately go, but everything you need, you have inside of you. You may not know how to use it yet, right? Because it's like the magician meets, or the fool meets the fool meets the magician like day one, right? And the magician is doing like all these magic tricks and stuff, and the fool is like, wow. And then the magician is like, everything that I can do, you can do. You have the tools as well. And then the fool is like, really? And the magician is like, yeah. And then the fool is like, okay, teach me. And the magician's like, oh, time to go. And he disappears. And then we come upon the high priestess, right? And it's interesting. I think I finally found the name of my deck, which is interesting because it's Dagony, and I could not find it forever. Ben and Bell was like, I named each deck something specific, and I'm not telling y'all what it is, but it's spelled not exactly like what it is, but close enough. And I think it's death in French. Dagony. And I thought like mort or mortis or morte or mortem or something like that would be death because it is in Latin. But it could also be rebirth. And I was like, wow, I got the deck of death. I was like, okay. I mean, that kind of sort of makes sense for me because I'm all about the rebirth and continuously getting better and shedding the things that don't serve. Um, and so it's like the one clue that we have to the handle on this situation is like another riddle. Like I said, the professor answers the questions with questions. And you could get frustrated and upset that, they're asking or they're giving you more questions when you wanted answers. But if you look at where the questions that they ask are directing you, it's actually fairly solid guidance in a space where you're not really allowed to have any. Because the Hermit is one of those cards where it's all about the journey and it's all about the things that we find within ourselves. So, let's move on down, shall we? Oh, wow, there were two cards here. Oh, this is yesterday. This comes down to the story that we got yesterday, especially around the Queen of Cups. So the light of the situation is the Two of Wands and the Ten of Cups. It's the discerning one and the joyous one. And I love this. And it's so interesting because I've been watching Water Baby Tarot a little bit more. And I watched her New Moon Virgo reading yesterday at some point. And I was kind of paying attention. But one of the things that she brought up was discernment and how discernment is going to be a thing right now. And then she was struggling to define it. Or not struggling to define it, but it's one of those things that it's like you know what it is, but it's hard to put into words. And then we have the discerning one right here, which is Mars in Aries. Here's Mars in Aries. Here's Mars in Pisces. So we could have gotten the vision. Like I said, when Mars was in Pisces, I said, whatever you're feeding Mars now while Mars is in Pisces, that's going to be what Mars goes for when it goes into Aries. And now it's like it's time to seek whatever it was that we directed a lot of our desire into when Mars was in Aries. Now, depending on what that was for you, it's going to look different. But I mean, as energy moves, it gets fulfilled. It turns around. But this is our understanding of the light. Our understanding of the light is like this feeling of everything about to get better, like fulfillment on the horizon. I love it. That's a lot of Martian energy, but between Pisces and Aries, it's like, Pisces will slow it down when it needs to slow down, and Aries will speed it up. And I feel like a lot of times, I actually got the feeling to like try to look at a chart using the Greek names instead of the Roman names, and it reminds me of the Heroes of Olympus, which was the series after the Percy Jackson series. I've always been into mythology. Um, and so there's a follow up series in Percy Jackson. They look at the Greek side, but in the follow up series they look at the Roman side. And there are some gods that will literally shift from their Greek persona to their Roman persona in the presence of the Roman demigods. And Mars and Aries is one of those energies where the difference is so drastic. Because in Roman culture, Mars was celebrated. It was the Roman Empire. So it makes sense. Emperor energy makes sense. But on the Greek side, Aries was like seen as like a nuisance and troublesome, because the Greeks were more about, art, life, philosophy, and sciences. And when you're into like stuff like that, war isn't something that necessarily serves your functionality. But maybe that has something to do with this. Yeah, between that Pisces and that Aries, I feel like it's like Mars is shifting. And I think sometimes Mars can be a little bit more tactful or um, deliberate than we think, right? Mars isn't always like that, blinded by fury or lust or whatever type energy. Sometimes it is actually smart. And to be like a good warrior, you kind of sort of do have to be smart, because you have to be able to adapt in the situation, right? Now, some of that is instincts, but with all of that experience comes knowledge, comes wisdom, and comes a fair amount of intuition, right? And that intuition may stem from like, okay, if I were in that situation, this is what I do. Or they're probably thinking this. It's that like think like your enemy type of mentality. But instead of thinking like your enemy, it's more related to obstacles in life, right? And so it's like in any test or in any situation, especially if devil energy is involved, it's going to prey on your weaknesses or what you're most resistant to. So in this case, knowing your enemy is actually knowing yourself. It's like, okay, I know that this is an area that I've struggled with in the past, so if they're going to attack me, it's probably going to come from this direction. And it isn't necessarily an attack thing, but it's like, I can be unmotivated and a procrastinator. So if there's anything standing in between me and my 10 of cups, it's probably a lot of work that I don't feel like doing, because I know myself. And I've been putting a lot of things in motion. And that's one reason why I know that like this month or the rest of this month and next month, basically the end of this year is going to be really busy. And it's not going to be necessarily difficult in terms of heaviness, but in terms of like the sheer amount of what I have to do and how I'm going to have to be on top of myself to get it all done within this time frame. It's like, wow, right? That'll be something brand new for me. And it will serve me a lot later. And so, in that respect and in that regard, I'm kind of glad that Mars is in Aries for the rest of 2021, because I could use it. I mean, I could use a little bit of get up and go personally. Um, Now, the dark in the situation is the Knight of Wands. So this is the whole. This right here is Mars retrograde right now. At least it's saying Mars retrograde to me. Or like I said, like this is depending on how you handle the energy of Mars and Pisces, right? Also, we have the discerning one, and there's Two of Wands, and so the discerning one is smart, right? That's the side of Mars that a lot of people don't give him credit for, but he is battle seasoned. He's a warrior, right? He's not going to show up on the battlefield like first day, right? And if you think you've trapped Mars, Mars probably let you think that you trapped him. And it's probably going to be one of those reverse situations, right? It's like, oh, you trapped me into this space because you thought that I couldn't do this and that I couldn't do that. Well, surprise, you're about to learn that I've picked up a few new tricks. And then this is the energy of like that Mars just going crazy, right? This is Mars with no direction, no real purpose. And so it just acts off of base impulses. It does what it wants to in the moment with no regard for the future or who it affects or who it impacts or anything like that. This is the discerning Mars. And so, again, like I said, the dark of this situation is your impulses. And I feel like that just clarifies what I said over here. It's like you need to know yourself and you need to know your tendencies and where you fall. Because moving into the next space, those internal hurdles are going to be the biggest ones that keep us back. Now, the relationship between these two is the Ace of Swords and the Empress. Man, I really wish I would have kept the Emperor right there, because then the Emperor and the Empress would have been on the table. Oh my gosh. But remember how I said that with the Ankh on the Emperor card, that was the gift from the Empress? This is the gift from the Empress. The Empress with the Ace of Swords. I feel like that's a Mars with something to protect. And when Mars has something to protect, it fights harder. Going back to what I said yesterday about anime and the power of friendship and stuff like that, right? That's this. It's the power of love to turn humans into superhumans, right? Like you hear stories of people who like lifted things that they wouldn't be able to lift ordinarily to save somebody that they love, or coming into a burst of courage, right? Like that mom protecting their young type of energy. The power of love and acting in defense of that love and how it can supercharge the body. Because that's a moment when not only are the heart and the mind aligned on a singular action, saving whatever, protecting whatever, but also they're both operating at like maximum capacity. And so there is a lesson of not only harnessing one's drive, but coming into a little bit more wisdom. Like, is that something that's actually worth pursuing? Is this a fight that's worth fighting? Am I using excessive force right now? Or should I just, like, pack it up and walk away? And I feel like this is one of the reasons why Spirit can't really help us. Because it's like Spirit can't tell you what you want, right? Spirit tries to give us stuff all day long that we actually want, but we don't think we want it, so we turn it down. Or we go for things that we think we want that keeps us stuck in cycles and paradigms and loops. And it's almost like it's important for us to know why we're doing what we're doing, because that's going to be what fuels us. And not only is it going to fuel us and motivate us, it's going to give us that discernment. Because, look, like I said before, this Two of Wands, the discerning one, has a destination in mind, and it's the Ten of Cups, right? It's headed that way. This Knight of Wands is just flying off wherever with no destination, literally flying. He has wings, literally flying off of the reading, like facing nothing. And this is about, I want to say, coming into a higher state of consciousness. But It's about also changing our relationship with life into one that is a little bit more symbiotic instead of like seeing people as things to be used to get what we want. And that's the major lesson. I actually like this a lot more than when I did it the first time. When I did it the first time, it was kind of difficult to make it all, not make it all, but to see how it all fit. So, number 6. So, this is the relationship between these two, right? And then we come up to our understanding. So, these are the subconscious influences. These are what, like, we kind of sort of get from what's happening. So, when it comes to the light, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. The warrior and the shining dew. The sun and the Knight of Cups. Now, the Knight of Cups isn't facing the sun. I am really tempted to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it. Because, hey, look, you know. And again, we have another fire and water energy. The sun is Leo. Knight of Cups is Pisces energy. Or I learned it as Pisces energy, especially in this deck. But it can be any water sign. I mean, the signs don't really matter. But the sun with this, the warrior with the shining dew. It's exactly what I was saying. Like, Mars fights harder, Mars fights smarter. Mars is stronger when it has something to care about, when it's led from the heart, right? And that's this energy moving forward, not only from this heart space, but also from a space connected to spirit. Because there's also an opportunity here to deepen our connection with that, to deepen our connection and to know the Empress, which is the mother of all things, that prime divine feminine energy, which is the side of divine energy that nurtures and gives birth to life, rather than the side of divine energy that is the planning and the knowing and stuff like that, right? Right? When people talk about God's will or God's plan, I feel like that's more of an emperor energy, because that's about seeing the board and all of the pieces on it. But when we talk about, that loving, nurturing, creative, life-giving God, that's this more feminine aspect. And honestly, one of the things that it seems like, especially in this country, that we've lost in a lot of communities and in a lot of ways is the value of life. It's like people just take life like it doesn't hold any value, or like it doesn't mean anything. And it's like the heart of humanity has been off for a while, and you can see how we've gotten to this point if you look at history. But even to the point where within communities, people just take life. And I did say it's about seeing life in the world around us as more than just something to use and something to take. And it's like we've lost. They say that you don't know what you have until it's gone, right? And we lost a lot because of the lockdowns and everything else. And it's brought a lot of things to the limelight. And we have an opportunity to begin to value and treasure life and to treat life as something that matters. But if we don't take it, then, or if we don't learn it, then it keeps us where we were. Which was not great, collective. Which was not great. Okay, so our understanding of the dark is the world and the Five of Swords. I mean, it's pretty much everything that I just said. This is seeing the world as something to conquer. No, here we go. That's seeing the world as something to conquer. People as things to use. It's uncaring. It's about furthering one's own goals and agenda. This is Venus in Aquarius, which is interesting, and Saturn. It's like Saturn in Capricorn is what builds the foundation. Saturn in Aquarius is what propels it. Like if we think of a skyscraper, Saturn in Capricorn would be the foundation in the first few levels, but the higher levels that's all Saturn in Aquarius, and the whole building is solid enough that it doesn't sway or move or collapse under the weight of itself. But here we're living in this world where nothing really matters and no one really cares. And what we do is we create systems that can't sway, that can't expand, that can't accommodate the growing needs and the shift and change in the collective, and that can't stand its own weight. It falls under the pressure of its own weight. And we're seeing a lot of systems right now fall under the pressure of their own weight. And there are these things in the past that it was like, oh, well, if it's about to collapse, then just throw a few more bodies into the fire and it'll be sustained. But now it's like, no, like we're not going to keep shoveling bodies into this, because those bodies are lives. They're not just these. I don't know. It's like, do people think that like they're the only ones that are alive? Like, do people think that like all other people just like aren't real or something, and so they just like use them and dispose of them? Or I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. But that's this, and that like we're really seeing that now. I mean, a lot of people have known it. For the people who couldn't see it before, some of them are starting to see it now. And it's like we have two warriors again, one connected to the heart, the other connected to the world. And in this, we have, I can't remember the type of bird, but it's sacrificing itself to feed the baby birds. Like that's her blood that she's feeding these baby birds. And that's almost the space of Gaia, right? The planet itself, just like enduring it. Some of the people on the planet enduring it. The ecosystems and the animals, the flora and the fauna enduring it. Right? It's like whatever humanity wants to do, they want to cut down all these trees, they want to pollute the atmosphere, they want to, hunt creatures to the point of extinction, or, deforest places to the point where it completely disrupts the natural state of things. And it was like we were expecting everything else to just accommodate for us, but there comes a point when it's like everything that is elastic has a point where it will break. And like the earth will break us before we break the earth. Spirit will break us before we break spirit. It's like don't get so overly proud and inflated because of all of the things that you think you're doing, because you can be humbled very, very quickly. And I feel like it's a very humbling time. And it has been. This is so interesting. I mean, I don't think this is anything necessarily new moon Virgo, but I mean, I think it does come back. I'll finish this and then we'll scale it back to a personal life. So card number 7. Okay. So this is what we need to address and what's our blockage/limitation. So what we need to address is the 4 of Swords, Convalescent. Now this would have been the Emperor. I just want to keep throwing that out there. That would have been the Emperor. The energy that we need to address, which is exactly right, masculine energy on this planet. The actions that we take primarily are more so than the thoughts and the feelings that we feel. I mean, thoughts and feelings influence actions, and actions, repeated actions especially, influence thoughts and feelings. But the Convalescent is a card of healing. The convalescent is, it's interesting because I read the entry. We have the angel in the window, and then that's actually death that's lying down, his scythe transformed into a sword. Death is Scorpio energy, which is the feminine side of Mars. It reminds me of shows or movies where, for some reason, something happens to death. And so for a while, like, people don't die, but people are dying. And then, like, Don't Let My Death Be in Vain just popped into my mind. But it's a card of recovering from illness. Chiron, that's what that is. I was just talking to one of my new buddies, and he mentioned that there's going to be a Chiron return in 2025. And so, like, 2025 brings an opportunity for this deep healing. And I was like, 2025? And he was like, that's 5 freaking years away. And I was like, well, I'm going to do what I can in my own personal life to get some of that healing to come in a little bit early. And it's like, we do need people on the other side of energy to go in and begin to anchor it. We do need people to kind of sort of be that example, or to serve as that sort of to trailblaze, right? It makes it easier energetically for people behind them, because if nothing else, it's like, wow, well, if that person can do it, then I can do it. And I thought it was impossible until I saw that person doing it and this person doing it. And so it is another way to serve the collective. And that's, what I'm more interested in than staying stuck and miserable. Like, I'm over that. No thanks. Sorry. I'm not. It's just like, yeah, no, I served my time. I'm done. Um, and so that's this energy. But it's like masculine energy needs to really rest for long enough to see what it has become. And that's this discerning warrior versus the Knight of Wands. It's like the Knight of Wands energy will go and go and go and go and go and go. And the discerning one will be like, you know, rest when it comes to a drawn out war, when it comes to war and not a single battle, or at least not a quick battle, excuse me, rest is just as important, because if you're not rested, you're going to be less effective on the field. But this energy is so consumed by itself and greed and everything else that it doesn't stop long enough to realize or recognize what it is that it's truly doing. It doesn't stop long enough to know that it isn't even serving itself anymore. Not really. And just like how indecision came out for the advice with that Queen of Swords, I think it was on my Legacy channel, with the Mother of Swords, the Eight of Pentacles, the Son of Swords, and the Mother and Father of Wands, the advice for moving forward was indecision. It's like, if you just stop long enough, you'll see how much this does, like how much it actually doesn't make sense, or how much sense it doesn't make. If you count up your change, you'll realize, hey, something ain't making sense. I should have more than this. But the limitation on this, the blockage, is the Page of Wands. And I am going to pull another card to clarify this, because, that's what I do. The tale resumes. Going back. Everyone's so focused on going back to the world that we're leaving behind that it's like, there are some people who are like, you know what, when we open things back up, let's do it right. Because the way things were working weren't working. And then there are other people who are just like ready to get back to whatever, ready to get back to ignoring everything that they've been ignoring, and avoiding and evading everything that they've been avoiding and evading. And it's like, once you know some of this stuff, there is no avoiding it. And it's had the opportunity to make itself painfully clear and painfully obvious. So you can try to go back to your regular life if you want to, but you best believe it's going to continue to haunt you because you see it now. And regardless of how you align, you see it. You know. Empress doesn't even have to speak because you know. She's like, she can say one word or two words that are perfectly powerful enough, poignant enough that you can, like, she doesn't need to sit there all day long. She's like, you choose your path. Clarify this limitation and blockage, please. Eight of Orbs at the bottom of the deck now. Two cards, the Holy See and the Ace of Pentacles. This is the world that structured, organized religion, systems of power, and everything else have created to keep themselves in power. There's this utilization and understanding of the divine and of the truth, and there's this contorting of the truth and this distortion of the truth that creates this hollow world. It's giving me the hollow void, but you see, like, the heart of this pinnacle is empty. And it doesn't even occupy the fullness of its potential. Like, look at all that blank space around it. That's why in this deck, and it's been coming up for a while, we need to see beyond the world that we're being seen, that we're being shown. And we're supposed to be, clairaudience is also a message with this card, learning to listen to the voice of God for ourselves and the voice of spirit for ourselves, and not needing something or someone else to tell you that something is wrong, right? Like, growing up in the church, it's like there are so many people who claim to be Christians, but it's like after a certain point, I feel like you shouldn't need God or your faith to tell you that something is wrong. You should just know that it's wrong. And right, like, there are some people who, like, well, like, oh, that person is like atheist, that person is agnostic, that person is a different religion. Like, oh, how do they know right from wrong? And it's like, do you really need God? Do you really need for it to be written in a book that you shouldn't kill people to not kill people? Do you need it to be written in a book that you shouldn't take advantage of people to not take advantage of people? And the Hierophant can also symbolize law. And it's like, again, here's the system. Law is structured and organized in ways to punish certain things, but to let other things go. More lax and lenient in certain situations. And what it does is, over time, it's hollowed out this pinnacle. Maybe it was whole before, but it's eating away at this pinnacle from the center. And it's like, I've been seeing more and more. Well, okay, I've only, like, watched two people's story, honestly. And the second one I just watched the other day because it kept popping up. I was like, oh, I'll watch this. Why not? About some of the people who stopped reading. And two of the people who would pop up on my recommended, and I'd watch them every now and then. One of them I was subscribed to, but I kind of stopped watching her after she was saying some stuff that was a little transphobic. I was like, yeah, I pass on this. But they both, like, left New Age and went back to the Bible, but in a way, like, not as they were before. And it's like everything, no matter the system, should be teaching us the voice of the divine, should be connecting us to the spark of the divine that lies within us, to our hearts, our minds, and our conscience. Conscience, the Jiminy Cricket that's like, hey, Pinocchio, don't do that. You want to be a real boy? Like, stop doing puppet boy things. And I guess, like, if the only way to correct this and to rectify it was to basically have a complete system meltdown. And again, like I don't think that government and politics are inherently evil or inherently selfish. I think they are a reflection of the people that they govern. And I'm not saying that Americans, especially, are evil, but they are selfish, self interests. You know how many people I've heard who were like, oh, well, I don't agree with what the president stands for, but he's good for my pocketbook, so I voted for him. And it's like, why is money only an issue in this country, it seems, when we're trying to do something good, when we're trying to do something beneficial and something that furthers us? But when it comes to, like, expanding the military and doing this and doing that, then it's like, oh yeah, like the price doesn't matter. Like we'll pay it, yeah. But it's like, we can't put anything towards like healthcare or education or to like providing for our own people. And it's so funny, on Twitter the other day, they talked about how we got, like, it's been 6 months and there was a $1,200 stimulus check, and someone was like, for the low price of $6 a day, you too could sponsor an American. And it was interesting because at least I'm so used to seeing the commercials where it's all in Africa. It's all of these problems that lie on the outside. I also saw a video from someone not in this country that he posted months ago, and he was like, I was walking down here and there was someone else on my path, and like they looked at me and they flinched, or they looked at me and they were afraid. And it's like, okay, well, I can have that experience as a black man in America, and it ain't even because it's a pandemic. It's like socioeconomic distancing. Oh, that's been happening for a long time. And maybe that's the inside showing itself on the outside. Maybe, like, they say that the true disease is humanity, but I don't think it's humanity in and of itself. It's the state of the heart of humanity. It's what humanity has become, where we just take everything from this planet and leave nothing. And now we're looking at other planets to go and take from and do it all over again. It's like, really? I wonder if Gaia would let us go, or if the divine would let us go. It's like, no. See, what y'all not about to do is become these like planet hopping parasites. Archangel of Glory, King of Wands. I don't know why I pulled that. I picked up the wrong deck. Hey, but look, the Vagabond is back at the bottom of the deck. So to me, that says it's meant to be. So I guess. Oh, there we go. I'll I Ching that with this or something. I don't know. Archangel of Glory is to be good stewards, right? Angel of Arts and Grace. Angel of Arts and Grace. I love this King of Wands energy because to me it embodies like the light of the King of Wands, the emphasis on like the creative side of Leo energy and the warmth of Leo energy and the protection that it offers, rather than just, a king who dominates and wars for what it is that he desires. Or maybe that's just how I typically read the King of Wands energy, right? It doesn't care. He doesn't care whose land he burns or whatever. Like, there was so much diversity and beauty and culture on this planet that it's all been washed out, right? You read stories about the Native Americans back in the day and how they were forced to assimilate into these schools, and all of the lands that have lost their cultures because of some perceived superiority or whatever, that just leaves everything more bland and colorless and lifeless than it was before. It's pretty parasitic to me. So let's see what came out. The Ace of Clubs. A strong will and an open heart, all things taken into account. A strong will and open heart. That sounds like the glory of Leo energy to me. The light side of Leo. I like that. I like that. So that's the Ace of Wands and the King of Wands. I'm also gonna look at the Ace of Clubs. I can't remember what the Ace of Clubs is, but I know that this actually was the card that Virgo got when I pulled all the cards for maybe the Pisces full moon. I can't remember. I had 12 of these out, and Virgo got that Ace of Clubs. And here we are in the Virgo New Moon. Fire is also an element of purification. But fire can also be used to destroy. Man, some of the stuff and what just came to light about the mass hysterectomies and the detention camps, it's like, this is America. Does anyone care? Okay, so let's see what this is. Hey, there's my grandma. I don't know why it does this every single time. Ace of Clubs is the ring. Commitment, promise, honor, partnership, cooperation, cycles, neutral, and repetitive. So it's a neutral energy. It's I mean, we have the king in the ring. The king of the ring, Lord of the Rings, throwing the ring into Mount Sauron. But y'all know how hard Frodo had to fight to let that ring go? That ring did not want to let go of him. That ring did not want to be destroyed. You see what it did to Smeagol? Turned Smeagol into Gollum. Goodness. That ring was dangerous. But you know, people get consumed by power and greed and all kinds of things, and it clowns the heart. It clowns. It clowns the heart and mind. It clouds the hearts and minds of people and turns them into clowns. You know what? Clowns, while some people find them scary, they are meant to bring joy. So you know, maybe I don't want to do clowns like that. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, it's so interesting because greed and selfishness at some point eventually it turns one against their own interests, where it's like you don't even realize now that you're working against yourself, but when you're working against yourself it makes you all the more easy to control. It's like, oh goodness. So the I Ching that we have here is double fire. Double fire is number 30, which is attachment. Oh snap, I went way too far. I am not using the energy oracle cards. I can't do that. I have to swipe through. Number 30, emotional attachment and clinging. You are clinging on emotionally. You hope you can depend or rely on one who you have attached yourself emotionally to. Yet, for the matter at hand, clinging is auspicious. Nurturing and caring for the fertile cow will bring prosperity. Though you cling, do persevere. You must burn with fire from within, and not only rely on the external burning of fire. The luminous fire must start from within and burn outward. Clinging and emotional attachment is suspicious if the inner fire itself burns bright. And that's just reminding me more of like self love, right? It's like you can love other people and you can care for other people, but you also need to love and care for yourself enough to where if it reaches that point where it's like you're being taken advantage of or whatever, you need to be like, okay, you know what, I love you, I got feelings for you or whatever, but I also love myself, and I'm not going to allow myself to continue to do this because this isn't love. Me subjecting myself to this isn't love. It's not. But also, I feel like in some ways that reiterates what I said about government. I feel like a lot of people have used government and religion and so many other things to like short circuit these thoughts and feelings that they should have from themselves, right? Like you shouldn't need the law to tell you that killing people is bad, and you shouldn't need religion to tell you that killing people is bad. Something within you should know, hey, this is bad and I shouldn't do it. But when you are overly reliant on these external systems, you become not prey, but pawns. And there were quite a few people who were like, I can't believe that, the government that I trusted and believed in would do this. And like, I can't believe that the news is this and everything is that. And it's like, yep. And it's all been using you and playing you, pulling your strings this whole time. I can understand that it's hard to accept. Losing your trust in anything or anyone isn't easy, especially if that's something or someone that you've bet on. Something that you've argued to realize that you were wrong and you were being used the whole time. I can see how some people would feel like dummies. And it's not necessarily to feel like that, but again, it's like when that internal fire burns brighter, that's discernment. That's what leads to discernment, when your internal fire burns brighter than the external fire. Because it's like, okay, I can see what this is now. And I can see what this is beyond the facade and the illusionary mask that you choose to wear. Because the fire inside of me, it pierced through all of that. Burns right through it. Right? And you may not necessarily be like, hey, like, I know who you are. But just because you don't do that doesn't mean you can't see it. And sometimes systems gotta go. And forward progression and movement has to be made. So, let's do this before I catch my nap again. It is getting warmer in my room now, so I'm not going to be able to use 2 blankets, but that's fine. Oh, I've been enjoying sleep. I was like, yes, oof, I'm enjoying this release so much. I just feel like it frees up a lot of stuff that needed to be freed. So thank you, Virgo season, for helping me clean that out. I actually have Virgo in my 6th house, so, Oof. Alright, final message from the SKT, please. As I put you away, final message from the SKT, please. As I put you away, final message from the SKT, please. There we go, thank you. Archangel Commander with the Page of Swords, the Shining Flame at the bottom of the deck. This is that. Oh, wow. King of Swords, 6 of Swords. The power of mental clarity. Who is this? This is Venus in Aquarius. No, this is Mercury in Aquarius. Sorry. Mercury in Aquarius. Venus in Aquarius was the 5 of Swords. Mercury in Aquarius. This is the 2nd decan of Aquarius, which would be Gemini. Yeah, Mercury in Aquarius. That one lines up. King of Swords, 6 of Swords. The power of truth and mental clarity to just shoom you out of any situation. And it's like there is this power that we're coming into with this King of Swords, but also there's a need to heed the wisdom of the ferryman. Because with that universal Mercury, it's like this ferryman is the high priestess in disguise. She knows the path. She knows the way. And sometimes it may feel like we're navigating into a little bit more choppier of waters to end up in a space that's ultimately calmer, right? It's like appearances can be deceiving in these times when everything is so foggy. And without a lighthouse, there would be a lot more ships that would just beach themselves onto the shore. I wonder how long it took people to invent lighthouses. I wonder how many boats just like crashed into the I don't know, the banks, and just before they were like, hey, maybe we should put something here so that this doesn't continue to happen. That would be cool. I don't know. All right, now we're getting into the final message from the Diceology cards. Oops. Well, there it is, I guess. I'll take it. I do still want to give this a few shuffles. Unless that's the Ace of... Well, if it is, I said I'll take it, so I'll take it. I'll honor that. Oh, it's 2 cards. Maybe we'll get a little bit of Lenormand action. The Queen of Hearts and the 3 of Spades. Queen of Hearts is the teacher of essences. 3 of Spades is the 3 of zones. This is a candle burning on both ends, inversion, a revelation of self, and accountability. Taking accountability for one's actions and how one shows up in a situation and the energy that one puts out into the world and how it comes back. Right? A lot of people will be like, oh, well, we didn't start this. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And it's like, yeah, true, sure, fine, whatever. But, are you a participant? You ain't start the fire, but are you keeping it burning? You keep throwing coal and fuel onto the fire? Because if we let the fire die, it would have stopped burning a long time ago. So, I mean, who started it? That's one question. Who's keeping it going is another. Because at this point, I don't want to say it doesn't matter who started it, but if we're keeping the fire burning, then, how are we going to put it out? A candle burning on both ends, inversion, a revelation of self and accountability, a complete restructuring of home, a breathtaking sight that redefines beauty and allowing one's soul to breathe. I guess there's some magic that happens at the center of that candle. It's almost like when the flame from both ends meet in the middle, it turns into this like sparkler type thing, and something comes out of it. A wand? I don't know. Your ability to have some agency in your life? I don't know. I don't know. All right, so that's what I got. If you view this, thanks for viewing, I guess. If I'm someone that you keep up with, thanks. I guess. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make the good better, the great, the better great, the great fantastic, and the fantastic miraculous. And I hope that you are able to see something in whatever situation that you're in that will provide you a way of elevation and escape. Right? Because there's so much more to be had. So much.